Om Vagishadya Sumanasaha Sattvarthanam Upakrame Yam Natva Kritakritya Syutam Namami Gajananam Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Krititam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaita Vritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashathyayinim Ambatva Manusandadapi Bhagavad Gita Bhavatveshinim Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankara Chatyamadyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Yoginam Vishwanathakyam Asmattata Swarupinam Atmalabhat Param Labham Vakta Aram Nakadachana Gita-artha-grantakartaram Sri-Gurum Pranamamyaham Yontah Pravishya-me Vacham Dhritim Buddhim Prachodayat Om Namah Sabhabhyah Sabhapatibhyascha Bho Namaha Om. We are now in the 11th session of the Gita Regimen for Advaitic Living. We have done up to shloka 56 of chapter 2. We shall today take shloka 57 onwards. Shloka 57. Yas sarvatra anabhisnehaha tat prapya shubha shubham nabhinandati nadveshti tasya prajna pratishtita. As you know, we are in the section from 55 to 72 where Krishna is answering Arjuna's question Sthita prajnasya ka bhasha Sthitas samadhistasya keshava. What is the language of a sthita prajna? Sthita prajna means one who has reached the destination. His wisdom is totally concentrated and fixed, anchored to the Lord, to the absolute consciousness. For that person, how does he speak? How does he walk? How does he behave? This was the question of Arjuna, and the Lord answered in shloka 55 and 56, answered by two definitions. If you see, when he discards all the desires that arise in the mind and who is totally content within himself, by his own self, for his Atma, that person is Sthita Prajna. It's a kind of abstract definition, but we dwelt on it for a whole day. Similarly, in the second shloka 56, Dukkeshu Anudvigramanaha, he should not be depressed or perturbed by any unhappiness. He should not get elated by any sukha, happiness. Vitaraga bhaya krodha, he should have eradicated, he should be devoid of raga bhaya krodha. Raga is attachment, bhaya is fear, krodha is anger. He must be devoid of this. Such a person is Sthitadi. So it's a kind of a definition. So he is continuing that. Yes, sarvatra anabhisnehaha, sarvatra anabhisnehaha. Sarvatra, everywhere and always. Everywhere in space, always in time. Sarvatra has two meanings. So whosoever, everywhere and always, is without the bondage of attachment. Anabhisnehaha. Abhisnehaha. Sneha is fondness, affection, attachment. Abhisnehaha is deep attachment. Anabhisnehaha is without attachment, without the bondage of attachment. Yes, sarvatra anabhisnehaha tat prapya shubha shubham. Whether he meets with happiness or meets with unhappiness. Shubha and ashubha. He means tat prapya shubha shubham. Whatever he gets. You see, whether he is visited by good or this good or that evil, whatever that is. Nabhinandati nadveshti, he neither rejoices, na abhinandati. He neither rejoices when the happiness comes, nadveshti, he does not hate when the evil comes, when the bad thing happens. So that person's wisdom, intelligence, prajna, is pratishtita, is firmly founded, is stable, is anchored. Yes, sarvatra anabhisnehaha tat prapya shubha shubham nabhinandati nadveshti tasya prajna pratishtita. So it is a kind of, paraphrasing of the earlier thought given in the earlier two shlokas. So we continue now. Yada samhara, with shloka number 58. Yada samharate chayam kurmonganiva sarvashaham indriyani indriyarthebhyaham tasya prajna pratishtita. As usual, I suppose that you all have your books in your hand. Yada samharate cha ayam kurmonganiva sarvashah. That is, when this person withdraws, yada, when I am this person, samharate, withdraws. How does he withdraw? Kurmonganiva sarvashah. Just as the tortoise, kurma is tortoise. Just as the tortoise withdraws on all sides, from all sides. You see, it withdraws into its shell. Whenever it meets with an obstacle, it withdraws all its 5 limbs. You see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and this head, face. Yada samharate chayam kurmonganiva sarvashah is a famous analogy which is quoted by very many people. What does he withdraw? Indriyani indriyarthebhyaha. Indriyani, the senses are withdrawn. Senses are withdrawn from what? From the sense objects. Indriyarthebhyaha. When the senses are withdrawn from the sense objects, just like the tortoise withdraws its 5 limbs, all the limbs, you see, into the shell, tasya prajna pratishtita. When he withdraws like this, that is when his intelligence is completely anchored. His wisdom is stable, pratishtita. His wisdom or intelligence is firmly founded, stable. This shloka is an oft-quoted shloka because this analogy has been borrowed by many authors across the world. Yada samharate chayam kurmongani. Of course, you can ask, why tortoise? Why not some other animal or person or what? You know, every other animal, when it meets with an obstacle or a force which is destructive of itself or its objects of attachment, every other animal tries either run away or fight. Either offensive, the defensive action is running away. But it is the tortoise which does not run away. It withdraws its limbs and keeps there. You see, this is what one has to do. Therefore, tortoise. I mean, one can have several ideas about why tortoise and not something else. The next shloka is very profound. We are going to spend a lot of time on the next shloka, shloka number 59. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaham rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. First, the simple meaning. Vishayaha vinivartante. Vishayaha, sense objects. Vishaya means sense object. Any object. Vinivartante, they recede, fall off. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha. That is, dehinaha. Dehinaha means the resident in the body. From the resident in the body, from the person, these things recede. When niraharasya, because this person has refused to feed on them, refused to feed on the sense objects. Niraharasya, he doesn't want them. Vishaya vinivartante, the sense objects recede. So, I mean, a person may be sick, person may be ill, person may be in a bad mood, he may not want food. So what does he say? Oh, I don't want the food. So, you can stay away from food because you are not able to, or you don't like it, like that. Similarly, now I am talking of food, but you have to extrapolate it to various, sense experiences. We can stay away from sense enjoyment, staying away because you have made a resolution that you are not able to handle it, you are not getting it, you have no means of getting that sense object, that sense enjoyment. So Vishaya Vinivartante. But what happens is Rasavarjam, the sense objects have been made to recede, but the taste of that sense object still remains. You see, your stomach might be aching, and therefore you might not want to take some heavy, rich food, right? Fatty food. But the taste for that food may still be lingering in you. Why lingering? It may be always with you. So rasavarjam. Rasa is taste. Without the taste, the sense objects, the objects recede. Right? So that is an exception. But that taste itself, rasopi, that taste also, asya, that taste of that, param drishtva nivartate. Param drishtva. Param is absolute. The absolute. When the absolute is seen, is realized, nivartate, then that taste goes. What is the idea? I am not sure whether everyone gets the idea by just getting the literal meaning of this. Okay. I have to give you some personal story here. Long ago, when I was in the Clive's hostel in Trichinopalli, southern India, I was in the hostel. So in the evenings, 3 of us friends roam about in the streets. Finally, after a walk, go to a good hotel and whatever snacks we can eat. This is probably our, not a daily routine, but a routine probably 2 times in a week or 3 times in a week, like that. This was going on. One of among the 3 friends, myself and 2 others, one of us, not me, but the other one of them, is a rich person. So on some days, he will say, no, I am going to treat you. So usually we will have some snacks and coffee, but when he treats us, we will have badam halwa. Badam halwa here we will have. Very tasty. I remember that hotel, I remember that taste still remains. You see, rasavarjam rasopyasya. Today, right now, I am not having it because it is not available here, but that taste still remains. Not only the taste. You see, there are 2 things here. The taste of the memory and the memory of the taste. So when I said that taste still lingers, memory of that taste. You see, the memory of the taste also disappears, but the taste of the memory, that also has to disappear. You see, this is telling you about how the taste remains even after a long time. I am talking of my student days, that were 65 years ago. I will give you a real story of Dhanurdhasa, because this param drishtva nivartate. Having seen the absolute, having realized the absolute, that taste also disappears. That is what this says. Right? There are 2 things here. I have to give you that story. Put it aside. But first of all, param drishtva nivartate. It disappears after seeing the absolute. But once you realize the absolute, then you have reach the Advaita stage, there is nothing more. So where is the occasion for the taste or the memory or the whatever? So the question arises, does the taste disappear after the realization of the Absolute, or before the realization of the Absolute? This is like asking, again another analogy. This is like asking, you see, somebody is sleeping, right? You go there and you call, say Ram, Ram is his name. Hey Ram, get up, Ram, get up, you say. He gets up. Question, did he get up from his sleep after he heard your voice, call, or did he wake up first and then heard your voice? Which is right? You see, Ram, get up, you said, and he woke up. Now, this is how we describe it usually. But what is the sequence? He is hearing the call and then waking up, or waking up and hearing the call, which is, you see, you cannot answer this question. In fact, it is simultaneous. Simultaneous. That is, the call, hearing the call and waking up, both are simultaneous. You cannot have one, because he could not have heard you when he was sleeping. So he heard it and then woke up is absurd. And again he woke up and then heard, that is also absurd, because how did he wake up? Then he did not wake up by your call. He woke up by himself. That's no good. So they heard the call and woke up. Though that is the way we describe it, it must be simultaneous. This is what happens. You realize the Absolute, and this taste for all these material pleasures disappears. No, there is no sequence. The taste for all these material pleasures disappears, and then you realize, no, that also is wrong, because there is a simultaneity there. Anyway, that is one thing. Now I will come to the story. What is the story? Story of Dhanurdhasa. Story of Dhanurdhasa. In Ramanuja's time, Srirangam, the Lord, the Srirangam temple deity, is being taken in the Garuda Vahana, in a great palanquin with Garuda carrying. This is the greatest sight for any Vaishnava worship. Garuda Vahana, Vishnu. This is coming, therefore everybody is thrilled. They are all watching it. I mean, the streets are full of people, men and women, devotees. They are all looking at that Garuda Vahana, Lord Vishnu, coming with such majesty and splendor and what have you. And coming, Ramanuja with his Shishyas, Ramanujacharya with his Shishyas is also walking along and seeing the Lord. So he is walking towards them. At that time, he sees on the opposite side of the road, I mean, the whole road is full of people. They are all worshipping the Lord. The Lord is coming with all gaiety. A kind of a ruffian type of person. His name was Dhanurdhasa. He was a boxer. Boxer. With a hefty body build, what have you. Next to him, there is a beautiful lady going along with him. Now he is having his hand on the shoulder of that lady, holding an umbrella over her head, and almost, he is so fond of her that he is looking at her alone. He is not looking at the Lord. He is not impressed. He is not influenced. He is not alerted by anything that happens around him in the whole street. With everybody is looking at the Lord. They are all walking, slowly along with the chariot, the Garuda Vahana, but he is simply looking at, probably it is his love, lady love, he is looking at her face and holding an umbrella over her head. Ramanujacharya, who is walking in the opposite side of the road, in the opposite direction, watches this scene, and so the Acharya tells his Shishyas, fellows, go to him and tell him to meet me in the evening in my ashram. So naturally, they go and tell him, and he comes in the evening. And when the evening comes and he meets the Acharya asks him a very interesting question. Why are you so fond of that lady that you even ignore the Lord who is coming along there and everybody is watching? He says, she is the most beautiful of all ladies in the whole world. She is the most beautiful thing, anything. He implies that even the Lord is not beautiful. Even the Lord's splendor, the majesty, all these things, that is not beautiful. This is the most charming thing for him. This is what he implies. So the Acharya says, all right, if I show you something more beautiful than this, would you believe it? Would you change your mind? He says, nothing, sir, nothing. No, you cannot show me anything more beautiful than my lady love. So the Acharya agrees. Takes the challenge, agrees. All right, you come to my ashram at 10 o'clock in the night. I will take you somewhere. So he comes at 10 o'clock in the night. And the Acharya takes him to the temple. In the temple, of course, the Acharya has a free entrance to every inner precinct of the temple. So he goes gate after gate, gate after gate, inside, finally to the complete sanctum sanctorum of the Lord, where the Lord is reclining. Srirangam, that great Ranganatha, Swami Ranganatha, is reclining on his bed of serpents. So so long he has been accompanied by other priests of the temple, but in the last entrance, everybody stopped away because they had great respect for the Acharya. So inside, in the final sanctum sanctorum, the Acharya and Dhanurdasa, they go inside. We don't know what happened inside. But when they came back after a few minutes, we don't know how long they stayed, you have to imagine that. When he came back, the Dhanurdasa, from that moment onwards, we don't know what he saw inside. Param drishtva nivartate, it says. Absolute, when you see the absolute, all the taste disappears. For Dhanurdasa, everything, every taste disappears. Not only for Dhanurdasa, his lady love also. He and his lady love both became Shishyas of Ramanuja. And they became such a model Shishyas. There is another story which compares this strength of the faith of these two people with the faith that the other Shishyas, the routine Shishyas had. Anyway, that is a different story. But the point here is, Param drishtva nivartate. We do not know what great splendor, what majesty, what graceful view of the Lord that the Acharya was able to show to Dhanurdasa. But that is what this means. Param drishtva nivartate. Rasavarjam. The taste remains. The memory of the taste remains. That never disappears. But it disappears only on the moment, at the moment of the realization of the Absolute. It is a beautiful shloka. You see, these shlokas, I have already told you that both the Adi Shankaracharya and the Kanchi Mahaswamigal, both of them have emphasized the fact that these are not just descriptions of the ideal person, they are the means for you to get to that ideal. You see, Shankaracharya in his Bhashya to commentary on 55th shloka, he says, Sarvatraivahi Adhyatma Shastre Kritartha Lakshanani Yani Tanyeva Sadhanani Upadishyante. We are giving you the attributes of the Brahmajnani, of the realized soul, of the person who has reached his destination. We have given the attributes. It does not mean it is just an ideal, you have only to talk about it. No. These are the means. Tanyeva sadhanani upadishyanti yatna sadhyatva. Because by making proper efforts, you can reach that stage. So, that is why the shlokas are yada samharate chayam. When you withdraw, then your wisdom will get anchored. The sense objects will recede from you, but the taste will not go. The taste will remain. That also will go at the moment of your realization of the Absolute. You can try that. You can make efforts to reach that. This is what both the Shankaracharya and the Adi Shankaracharya talk. Now recall our summary of Krishna's 5 teachings. R1, R2, R3, R4, R5. You see? R2 is Indriya Nigraham. In the first lecture we had this. Indriya Nigraham or Yoga Sadhana. So these are Yoga Sadhanas. This is the Sadhana. Recall the 16 channels of the mind. Raga Dvesha, Kama Krodha, Lobha Moha, Mada Matsarya, Irshya, Asuya, Damba, Garva. I will talk about this more elaborately in my next lecture. But there are 12 bad things captained by ego, number 13. Shraddha and Bhakti are the 2 good channels, and Ichcha, which is neutral, it takes you to either these 2 good channels or those 13 channels. So the Ichcha, the mind has 16 channels. Ichcha is the neutral one which will take you either this side or that side. The good side has only 2 channels, Shraddha, Bhakti. The bad side has 12 channels, which I described just now. So Ichcha, the will, has the freedom to take it downward or upward, downward and outward, or in the direction of inward and upward. Spiritually upward, spiritually downward. Inward, spiritually outward, materially. So these are the 13 channels. So we have to make efforts. But Krishna himself wants you. In the next shloka, he wants you that this is very difficult. Don't underestimate the importance of this. So he says how difficult Indriya Nigraham is. Yatato hyapi kaunteya, shloka number 60. Yatato hyapi kaunteya purushasya vipaschitaha. Even a wise man. Yatato hyapi, even when he makes efforts, Indriyani pramathini haranti prasabam mana. Pramathini indriyani. The indriyas, the senses, are very forceful. They will take you. They will take your mind forcefully. They will take your mind. So, this is a common sense statement. He is saying, Vipaschitaha Purushasya. Even for a learned person, the impetuous senses will forcibly take the mind away, will hijack your mind. So therefore he says in shloka 61, you see, the whole, our series is called Gita Regimen. So what does Gita tell us, ordinary man? It is a dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna. What does Gita tell us? He tells you all these in every shloka almost. So here he says, the Indriya Nigraha, which is one of the 5 teachings that he is giving, that is very difficult. Even when a learned person attempts it, the mind will be taken away by them. Tani sarvani samyamya, shloka 61. Tani sarvani samyamya yukta asita matparaham vashehi yasyendriyani tasya prajna pratishtita. All those things, tani sarvani samyamya, having control. Yukta asita matparaha. Sit integrated. One should sit integrated, deeming me supreme. Matparaha. The Lord is talking. The Lord is talking, taking me as the supreme, ultimate resort. Right? Sit. Vashehi yasyendriyani. Such a person when he controls the indriyas like this, tasya prajna pratishtita. Now in this shloka, the most important phrase is, you have to highlight it. You have to highlight it with all sorts of colors. Yukta asita matparaha. Yukta asita matparaha. Yukta being you in union with, anchored to yoga. Asita, sit. Matparaha, deeming me supreme, deeming the Lord supreme. So this has to be highlighted. Sit concentrated in union with the self, deeming me supreme. You know, Aurobindo says this Yukta Asita Matparaha is a capsule version of the entire Gita. For Sri Aurobindo, this is a great phrase. Yukta Asita Matparaha. He says the entire Gita is here. Krishna is going to use the same phrase once more in the 6th chapter. Prashantatma vigatabihi brahmachari vrate sthitaha manassamyamya matchittaha yukta asita matpara. When he describes meditation in the 6th chapter, and in the description of the meditation he is saying yukta asita matparaha. That is one thing. This phrase is important. But more important than, within the phrase, the word matparaha is also important, is more important. Matparaha, deeming me supreme. You carefully analyze the previous shlokas up to this. This is shloka number 61 in the 2nd chapter. Carefully analyze up to the 60th shloka from the beginning onwards. Krishna has never talked about himself as God, himself as the absolute. No, he has never done that. Though of course Shankara's commentary slightly differs from this point of view. Shankara's commentary in the shloka buddhi yukto jahati hai ubhe sukrita dushkrite tasmat yogaya yujyasva yoga karma kaushalam. Therefore sit in yoga karma kaushalam. Yoga is dexterity in action. All those things he said in shloka number 50. And in the commentary of that, tasmat yogaya yujyasva, therefore make efforts to be in yoga. There the Acharya, both Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya and Madhvacharya, they all say dedicating yourself to God. With dedication to God, they add, it is not there in the text of the Gita. At that point they add, it is there. You cannot sit in yoga without dedicating yourself to, without dedicating your action to God. But explicitly, Krishna is saying that I am this absolute. This is the first time Krishna is referring to himself as the final destination. So then 62 and 63 gives you a slow motion picture of what happens if you go after sense objects. You see, Dhyayato, I am reading, shloka number 62. Dhyayato vishayan pumsaham sangasteshu upajayate sangat sanjayate kamaham kamat krodho vijayate. Shloka number 62. These shloka and next 62 and 63 are oft quoted shlokas in the entire world by people outside of the Gita also. Why? Because it is so, it's common sense. Dhyayato vishayam pumsaha. A person thinks of the sense objects. Thinks. Dhyayataha. Sangasteshu upajayate. Slowly an attachment, an association, an attachment that arises from association. Sangaha teshu upajayate. Attachment arises. Sangat sanjayate kamaha. That association, here you can think of it as association or attachment. An innocuous attachment. Right now the attachment is not serious. But from that sangat, that association, sanjayate kamaha. You see, in modern times, people want to have a taste of everything. So when there are several people, helping themselves to say something which is taboo, the person who is newly initiated to that group, he just wants to see how it is. Smoking, drinking, or whatever. He just wants to see how it goes. So that is the Sangha. That Sanjayate, Sangat Sanjayate Kamaha. The association brings a desire. Sangat Sanjayate Kamaha. Kamat Krodho Vijayate. When that desire has an obstacle, when the parent or a friend or somebody prevents him from enjoying that sense object, Kamat Krodho Vijayate, anger, Krodha Abhijayate. Then next shloka, Krodhat Bhavati Sammoha. Once that anger overpowers a person, Sammoha, complete delusion, confusion, Sammoha, Sammohat Spriti Vibhrama, shloka number 63. Sammohat Spriti Vibhrama. Memory fails. He does not know what he is doing. He does not know where he is doing whatever he is doing. He does not know his antecedents. He does not know his responsibilities. He is not remembering many things. So sammohat spriti vibhramam, spriti bramshat. Once that kind of lapse of memory, lapse of one's own being takes place, buddhinashaha, then his intellect totally fails. And that failing intellect, buddhinashat, pranashyati, he simply goes down. So this is the chain reaction for a steep spiritual rolling over to the bottom. You see how the mind sojourns with the material attractions of the world, slowly can set up a chain reaction for a steep rolling over to the bottom. So the contemplation of the objects of desire is the root of all evil. Contemplation. Dhyayato vishayan pumsava. The very contemplation, that is the starting point. Right? This is an oft-quoted shloka. So, his mind, when he dwells or ponders on sense objects with absorbing interest, there is a passionate fascination is formed. From attachment arises desire. From unfulfilled desire, anger comes, and anger leads to bewilderment or delusion. From delusion, loss of memory. Loss of intelligent memory leads to total perishing. This is a slow motion description. So far, Krishna has talked about the ideal person in the first three shlokas. Then he says how you can make the effort, but in talking about making the effort, he highlights the pitfalls. Even a wise man, if he makes efforts, he may fail because the senses are so powerful. Even then you have to control it. Yukta asit. So the method is Yukta asita matparaha. Resort to him. Resort to him as the final destination and sit. Stand there. Be anchored there. This is the up to now. So he is going to take up next, give you in shloka number 64 a great regimen, a kind of a complete formula for how to behave. You will see that we will take up 64 in the next session. Swasti prajabhya paripolayantam nyayena margena mahim mahisha go brahmanebhya shubhamastu nityam lokas samastas sukhino bhavantu.